After an excruciating one-week break between chapters, Oda-sensei came out undoubtedly swinging with the release of One Piece's 1110th chapter. So much so that it almost makes us forget that we're in the Straw Hat Pirates' final saga, even just for a bit. It goes without saying that we're more than hyped to tell you all about what's going down in what might be considered the climactic battle of the Egghead arc, and it's an absolute banger, boys and girls. As always, heavy spoilers are ahead for One Piece chapter 1110. You've been warned, fellow Buccaneers. Now let's dive right into it. What you can expect from One Piece chapter 1110. One Piece chapter 1109 ended with the arachnid-like elder J. Garcia Saturn summoning black lightning to shoot up from the ground, and Oda-sensei wastes no time providing us fans with some much-anticipated payoff in his seminal work's latest installment. On the shores of Egghead Island, the outmatched Marine Buster Call conducting fleet can't help but take a moment's pause to look over the horizon when they witness the same jagged bolts rising thousands of feet above inland. The world government's enforcers are taken aback. Even they had no idea this was going to happen in an otherwise cut-and-dry mission. In fact, this reaction isn't just limited to the regular grunts of the Marine fleet. Even high-ranking members like Vice Admiral Bluegrass are shocked to witness the foreboding display happening deep within Egghead Island. Then again, in between the resurgence of Dory and Brogy's giant pirate crew and the Pacifistas' sudden heel turn against them, they shouldn't be surprised that something like this would happen. Some of the Marines realize that the Black Lightning is not unlike the signal that heralded Jay Garcia's arrival earlier in the arc. Meanwhile, Atlas, along with Bonnie, Frankie, and one of the giants assigned to help them evacuate Egghead Island, can only hope that their friends further inland are safe, while they make their escape to the northeastern part of the landmass. On the shores of Egghead, a humongous arrow pierces and sinks another marine vessel, as the Pacifistas and Brogy and Dory's giant pirate crew team up to further decimate the already failing Buster Call from a few chapters ago. While this is happening, the two giant pirate captains and their detachment of towering, hardened marauders continue to make their way to Luffy, and you can bet Oda illustrates them with the usual battle-hungry grin you'd expect from the crew. At the Holy Land of Mari Shua, inside the Room of Authority, the rest of the world government's elders are nowhere to be seen, with only faint hints of flame and needle-like energy left swirling around the room. All the while, an advertisement plays in the background, one that would put Starbucks to shame. It's Vega Coffee, and with just a drop of it, you can transform a mug of water into a warm, delicious brew. Reading that honestly makes us crave for some One Piece-inspired cup of joe. Here's hoping Shueisha and Oda-sensei's merchandising machine gets to it sooner rather than later. In any case, it's revealed that this otherwise innocuous coffee commercial is still just part of Dr. Vegapunk's broadcast, as they kill some time to properly deliver their message and reveal the true nature of the world government's leaders. But back at the heart of Egghead Island, the black bolts of lightning have each started to form a pool of black energy around them. It's so ominous that even Luffy in his Gear 5 form, which is basically on the same level as the legendary hero Nika's power levels, starts to quake in his boots. Rightfully so too, because dark shapes start to take form in front of One Piece's rubbery, grinning protagonist, and around J. Garcia Saturn. These tar-colored creatures rise and grow, and ultimately we find out that J. Garcia had just summoned the full might of the Elders to Egghead Island. Not only that, but they're all in their grotesque Zoan forms, which means they're here for business. And it's at this point that Oda-sensei reveals each of what the Elders' monstrous transformations represent. J. Garcia Saturn is known as the Gyuki, Marcus Mars is the Utsumade, Topman Warkuri is the Hoki, Ethan Baron V. Nuschuru is the Bokatsu, and Shepherd Jupiter is the Sandworm. Each of the Elders look like a different creature pulled straight out of nightmares, and Luffy's eyes widen at the revelation that, holy hell, there's 5 of these monsters! With each of the world government's elders' Zoan forms fully manifested on Egghead Island, the Straw Hat Pirate Captain looks like a literal gnat as he faces off with them. And we have to say, J. Garcia wasn't lying that to his crew of elitist fascists, the rest of the world indeed do look like insects. All of a sudden, the Bokotsu, aka Ethan Baron van Nuschuru, who has taken the form of a shadow-like horseman astride a skeletal horse, not unlike one of the biblical horsemen of the apocalypse, rushes away from the scene and toward the beach of the island. He spots one of the Pacifistas blasting away at the Marine fleet, and we see the Bokotsu's horse head contort and writhe as it transforms into Ethan Baron. Now the Elder looks like an absolutely metal samurai centaur, and with just one masterful diagonal slash, he manages to take down the Pacifistas in his crosshairs. Just wow. Morality of their actions aside, we have to give it up to Ichiro Oda for absolutely killing it with this elder's character design. Offshore, the Marines watch as the robotic version of Kuma, the machine that recently put the Buster Call to shame, gets decimated. They have no idea what's going on. All they know is that they saw a large horse and it's currently reduced the Pacifista ranks by half. The Marines, always the opportunists, take this moment to regroup and call for Bonnie's assassination. Somewhere else, Sanji panics as he sees another elder, the bird-like Itsumade, also known as Marcus Mars, soar into the sky and towards the northeastern part of Egghead Island, the same destination Bonnie, Frankie, Atlas, and some of the giants are headed for. Sanji tells Nami and Robin that there's absolute chaos going down in the middle of the island. They should hoof it offshore as quickly as they can, and as soon as the Straw Hat's Master Chef says it, Marcus dive bombs the barrier protecting our heroes and pokes a hole in it. In the meantime, Ethan Barron continues slashing his way across the Pacifista ranks. Back at Luffy's location, the apparent reincarnation of Sun God Nika fends off the rest of the Elders' barrage. He successfully dodges Jay Garcia's venomous limbs before jumping away when Shepherd Jew Peter, the sandworm, lunges at him and digs into the ground. Somewhere else, Usopp responds to Sanji's message and lets him know that they're going to make a run for it. But there's one problem. Jinbei and Zoro haven't regrouped with the rest of their crew yet. They're the only ones missing and they sure as hell won't leave one of their own behind. Jinbei hears this message too and decides that he'll provide Zoro with backup. And speaking of the Straw Hat's Master Swordsman, One Piece chapter 1110 finally gives us a jaw-dropping conclusion to his duel with Rob Lucci. The Knight of the Sea was just about to swoop in and take Zoro away from the battle when he, along with us fans, bear witness to Zoro absolutely pwning the Neko Neko no Mi user with a technique he calls Spotted Leopard, Hahava Hunt. Turns out he didn't need Jinbei's help after all. Back to Luffy, the Gear 5 Straw Hat captain fails to notice that the sandworm shepherd has shot up from the ground right below him. The Zoan creature gobbles the infamous Gomu Gomu no Mi user. Off in the distance, Dory and Brogy catch sight of the sandworm swallowing Luffy whole. They're not worried though and are instead delighted at how seeing the Straw Hat pirate brings back old memories between them. The giant pirate captains declared that the dark belly of a beast is no place for Monkey D. Luffy, and just when we thought that the rubbery hero has become worm food, Dory and Brogy jump into action and chop off Shepherd's head with a brutal ability called Child of the Sawing Sun, all the while relishing the battle with huge laughs, a signature for the giant pirates. With the sandworm's head gone, Luffy is freed from his squirming prison. He sees his two old towering comrades and is delightfully surprised that they're on Egghead Island too. Dory and Brogy heartily laugh and greet their rubbery buddy with their trademark Gaba Baba and Geg Ya Gya 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 chants. And with that, One Piece chapter 1110 comes to a close. Our thoughts about One Piece chapter 1110? Good grief, Oda-sensei really knows how to ramp up the excitement in between One Piece's chapters. That 1 week break between this and the previous installment of his magnum opus just served to whet our appetite more, and the payoff was well worth it. The Egghead arc initially painted itself as the prime setting for a duel between Gear 5 Luffy and Jay Garcia Saturn, or at most a throwdown between the spider-like elder against Luffy, Sanji, and the giant pirates. We for one did not think that the Arachnid Elder would bring the full force of his dastardly order of world government leaders to Egghead Island in what can only be described as an all-out war. This development undeniably tips the scales for our belligerents, as we now have a more or less even playing field between the greatly reduced ranks of the Marines and the Elders going against the combined forces of Luffy's crew and the giant pirates. And if you'd notice, we didn't mention the Pacifistas at all. But speaking of the Buster Call beating robots, we think that One Piece chapter 1110 sets up the ultimate desolation of Bonnie's newfound machine army, as Ethan Barron had already carved its ranks by half, and he's not showing any signs of stopping. Of course, the whole setup of Bonnie gaining her very own robot army a few chapters ago, only for it to be completely taken away in such a dismissive manner some episodes later, would be downright anticlimactic. But we understand Oda-sensei's decision to do this. With an entire Pacifista army at her beck and call, it would place Bonnie as one of the most powerful figures in the world of One Piece. So it's probably in Oda's best interest to take her down a notch to prevent the final saga from being too stuffed with plot points. Then again, this is Ichiro Oda we're talking about. He knows how to drive a plot forward properly. So our best guess here is that either Bonnie will have a greatly reduced number of Pacifistas remaining under her control once Ethan Barron is done with them, Or there's only going to be a single Pacifista left, which makes it the perfect setting for the robot to completely regain Kuma's memories and have Bonnie be eventually reunited with her dad. And we all know One Piece is great at igniting those feels from us fans. Moving on, there's also the not-so-subtle references to classic East Asian mythology that Oda-sensei uses in portraying the Elders. Nearly each and every one of them is based on yokai, otherworldly creatures that more often than not are synonymous with demons, such as Ethan Barron's Bokotsu or Marcus's Itsumade form. That is, except for Shepherd Jupiter, who's a sandworm. We can chalk that up to Oda-sensei probably being a huge fan of the Kevin Basic classic Tremors or Frank Herbert's Dune. But the point remains, the world government is basically ruled by demons, so much so that maybe Vegapunk's pre-recorded broadcast isn't just about exposing the tyranny of the Elders. Maybe it's about revealing that they're honest-to-goodness hellbeasts pulled straight from the depths. Of course, we can't end this video without mentioning Zoro. It seems that everyone, even the Straw Hats themselves, have been giving the green-haired swordsman a lot of guff recently, treating him like the slow child of the bunch. But this chapter more than redeems the multi-katana-wielding warrior. In any other instance, his seemingly final clash with Rob Lucci would appear anticlimactic. But Zoro's encounter with the Neko Neko no Mi user is more akin to a samurai duel. All it takes is one well-placed strike for it to end, and it can happen in a blink of an eye or a single glorious manga panel. One thing's for sure, you don't mess with the Zoro. Thankfully, there won't be another break between this and the next chapter of One Piece. For now, all we can do is wait and speculate about how this brawl between the Elders and the Straw Hat Giant team-up will play out. What did you think of One Piece's latest chapter? Got any theories about it that you want to share? We're excited to know about it in the comments section below. And as always, be the first to see more amazing manga and anime content by clicking that subscribe button and hitting that notification bell. We'll see you in the next one, guys.